Thank you, Adrian. I'll hand the microphone over to you, and if you'd like to commence your presentation.
Thank you, Bernadette. Before I get started, I want to see some smiley faces to make sure I'm coming through to you loud and clear, and that I'm getting through clearly. That's great. Great to see. Just to compliment what Bernadette said, this parent PowerPoint presentation will be available on the VTAC website under the Careers Practitioners page by the end of this week. So the recording will be available through the CAV, and the PowerPoint presentation will be available through the VTAC website. So this is what we'll be covering tonight. So we'll be covering basically about what is VTAC. So for people who are new to VTAC, who have sons or daughters who are using VTAC for the first time, we'll just take you through what services we offer you, what applications are available, and how you can find that information through VTAC. We'll cover the resources that are available and some exciting innovations about accessing course information through smartphone devices and downloading PDFs and so forth. Our course search program, some basics about the application process, and our other programs being CEAS and scholarships, and of course the important offer process later in the year. So what is VTAC? VTAC stands for the Victorian Tertiary Admissions Centre. We have more than 60 member institutions, most of which there are 14 institutions that promote their courses through VTAC but manage their own applications. We'll be covering that a bit later on. So there are applications for tertiary courses, the Special Entry Access Scheme and scholarships. We're going to cover those in quite a bit of detail. Admissions test, we run admissions tests for mostly for non-Year 12 applicants who require tests to meet entry requirements at institutions. It's generally not required for current Year 12 students in Victoria. We also calculate and issue the ATAR, the Australian Tertiary Admission Rank for VCE students. And we have information and inquiry services. So as Bernadette has said, this is a pilot tonight. We'll be on the road over the next few weeks presenting sessions to teachers and to parents and students. But we also have a telephone inquiry service, an email inquiry service, and a VTAC blog where if you subscribe to the VTAC blog, you'll be able to actually, any information we update will go straight into your inbox. And you can also follow us on our Facebook and Twitter as well. And so we do have a range of ways for you to keep up to date with VTAC, and including all of those services. So we do urge you to use those services that are available. Our resources. So the definitive resource at the moment is the VTAC website. So we have, within the next 2 weeks or so, we'll have all our current information for courses that will be offered in 2014. That is the VTAC Guide 2014. We'll be covering a lot more information about that shortly. The VTAC Guide 2014 will be available in news agencies from the week beginning 29th of July. Schools will have copies next week available as well. So you can purchase it from a news agent for $12. You can actually also download the VTAC Guide for free using your smartphone device. So you can actually download the sections of the VTAC Guide that you think that you need to read. You don't have to download the whole VTAC Guide. You can download the parts of it that you need. ABC of Applying is a publication that VTAC produces for parents and students. We send one copy to schools for every VCE student in Victoria. So again, the schools will receive those next week, and there's one copy for everybody. So we do urge students and parents to sit down together and go through the ABC of Applying. It breaks down the application process and gives definitions of what a lot of our information is all about. So we distribute that free for all VCE students, and we do encourage parents and students to read it. Yes, thank you, Terry. The ABC of Applying is available online. It's was actually made available today. So if you go to the publications section of the VTAC website, just type in our browser, and /publications, you'll be able to download the ABC of applying. I mentioned the VTAC blog. So if you want to follow what's happening at VTAC and keep up to date with all the information that's available, and we produce articles. A good example of this is every week during the application period, we publish information about course amendments, courses that have been cancelled, courses that have been added to the VTAC system, and other amendments to those particular courses. If you're subscribing to the blog, you'll receive that straight into your inbox. If you're following our Facebook and Twitter accounts, any blog article we post, we cross-post onto Twitter and Facebook. So if you're following us on either of those forums, you'll have immediate access to those articles also in that information. Accessing course information. Now we talked about this a bit earlier with the careers practitioners. We're very excited about this year that anyone can download the PDF of the VTAC guide from the VTAC website from the publications link when it is available. So the download can be saved onto a smart device for use offline, and it can be printed. If you do decide to use it offline, then you will need to you'll have static information, so you'll need to actually go back and check for amendments if you want to catch up with up-to-date information. Can anyone here put their hands up if they understand or know or heard of a QR code? Fantastic, that's quite a few. I seem to notice them around a lot more since we've implemented this process. So when you receive your VTAC guides in the next couple of weeks, you'll see that there will be a QR grid on that. And if you download a QR reader from your Android phone or iPhone, you'll actually be able to scan, excuse me, you'll be able to scan information about a particular institution or a particular policy, and that will be downloaded into your phone. All of that information can be downloaded using the QR scanner and downloading that information. So for example, if you're interested in Deakin University, you can turn to the Deakin University page on the VTAC website. Sorry, excuse me, and you'll be able to download all of the information in regards to Deakin University there. Another feature this year is all applicants will have the ability to use Course Search and shortlist courses. Now, Course Search is a program we've had for a number of years, whereby applicants can check and find courses using keywords and so forth. So you can search for courses by title, by qualification, by major study. A feature this year is that applicants can shortlist courses. So by going into the Course Search program, they can actually have a list, put together a list of courses they're interested in. And they can email it either to their own email address, or if they want to talk to mum or dad about it, they can talk to them and email it there. And if they want to work closely with their teachers, it's a really good counselling tool. So the teachers can help, the careers counsellors can help with things like meeting extra requirements, meeting prerequisites, the compulsory requirements that are needed in order to be considered for a course. So these are some really good initiatives this year that we're really excited about, and really, and hopefully that people get full use out of those resources. Qualifications through VTAC. There are two types of qualifications that are available through VTAC for current Year 12 students. There are VET courses, vocational education and training courses, and higher education courses. These are colour-coded in the VTAC guide and will also be colour-coded on the VTAC website. So it's very clear what is a VET course, and it's very clear what is a higher education course. So the types of qualifications that are available through VTAC are Certificate 2s through to Advanced Diplomas, and we accept and publicise courses from Certificate 2 and above. Higher education courses undergraduate can be Advanced Diplomas through to Bachelors, so and the timing of those courses can vary as well. There are postgraduate courses in the VTAC system, however these aren't available to current Year 12 students. The VTAC system is very intuitive. Once you have registered as a current Year 12 student, you cannot accidentally apply for a postgraduate course through VTAC. This is the next couple of screens are going to be a demonstration of what an online course entry will look like when we go live with CourseStitch in the next couple of weeks for 2014 courses. So I'll just give you a breakdown of how a course entry is broken down. You'll see here the arrow where the colour is in the computer science. That colour is the indicator for a higher education course. So it's a higher education course that's offered in this example. The heading is a credit for the VTAC guide and course search only. So it's a course that should closely reflect the qualification of the course. It's the official name of the course is in the qualification title, where you see here Bachelor of Computer Science. The institution is the institution that's offering this course. In this example, that's Monash University. The campus and many of the larger institutions particularly have more than one campus. So for example, if this course is being offered at Caulfield as well as Clayton for Monash, they would see Clayton and Caulfield listed. So the codes show which institution campus and the type of course fees you are applying for. The key number for course fees is the last number, like it's always been through VTAC. That's a type, it can be a type 1, 2, 3 or 4. That defines the fee status. If it's a type 1 higher education course, that means it's a government subsidised, Commonwealth supported place. In this example here, you can see type 3, that is an international fee paying place and is only available for Year 12 students who are on a temporary visa, who are classified as international students. You'll see here the clearly in information. So this example here is for a course that looks like it's selected by ATAR and the two-stage process, predominantly by ATAR alone. It's important to remember that around 50% of courses through VTAC do select by ATAR as the main selection criterion. However, there are many other courses that require a range of criteria, things such as interviews, folios, auditions, and entrance tests, and so forth. So you need to be aware of that. So just to give you a breakdown of what the data there means, the clearly in is the point at which of the ATAR at which a student was clearly into the course. So that means if they've got a clear in of 84.80, had met the prerequisites, they would have been made and eligible to receive an offer, they would have been made an offer. Percentage below means that these are the percentage of applicants who obtained an ATAR lower than the clearly in but were made an offer to the course. That's where things such as bonuses in the middle band are considered. That's performance in certain studies, CEAS applications and so forth, which we'll be covering as well. You'll see here current Year 12 offers is the amount of Year 12 offers made to Year 12 students in this course. The total offers is the difference between the current Year 12 offers and non-Year 12 offers. So in this example, in January of this year, 15 non-Year 12 applicants were made offers into this particular course. Apply, you'll see this in the VTAC guide as well, that we'll be covering that shortly. Apply shows whether applications through VTAC are through VTAC or direct. If it's direct to the institution, it won't have a course code and it will indicate direct to institution. Qualification title and length is the qualification being offered at the completion of the course. Title and length is the duration and the method of undertaking this particular course. Online course entry, this is the second slide, and we give some definitions of what you'll see in certain areas. I'll start from the top of the screenshot. Course description is a brief outline of the course, so it gives applicants an idea of what the course is about, how it's structured, what to expect in terms of things such as work placements and so forth. There's a brief description in the printed VTAC guide and a more detailed description online for many courses. Prerequisites, these are compulsory. You can, even if you have an ATAR that is higher than the clearly in ATAR for a particular course, if you do not meet the prerequisites for that particular course, you will not be eligible, you'll be ranked at the bottom and not be considered by an institution. Extra requirements, again, these are things you must do. In the VTAC guide, we have indicators of whether a course has prerequisites or extra requirements. So if they say yes, and it's a course you're interested in, you need to go online to Course Search and check out what the extra requirements are and the prerequisites. Now you'll see here if a prerequisite is, an extra requirement is for a current Year 12 student, these are the requirements you need to meet. If it's for non-Year 12 only, they're the requirements that non-Year 12 need to meet. Middle band, as I touched on earlier when I was talking about the percentage below stats in the course entry. Middle band is where someone achieves an ATAR that is not high enough to gain them automatic entry into a particular course, but it's not low enough to remove them from consideration. So hence that's what the middle band is called. So if someone falls in just below the middle band, the institution will consider performance in certain studies, might consider the impact of the CEAS application. So so if you're looking at clearly in data from last year and your ATAR is just below the clearly in ATAR, have a look to see if you've met any of the requirements that are specified in the middle band. That can be something to consider when the ATARs are released at the end of the year. Application methods. Before I touch on that, I'm going to have a little break from talking, hand over to Bernadette for any questions.
Thanks, Adrian. If you have a question to Adrian at the moment, can you just put your hand up? Use the little icon, a little hand icon, and I'll hand the microphone to you. So I'll just give everyone a moment to consider if they've got a question that they might like to ask Adrian. Okay, Adrian, it looks as though everyone's still with us and they're following what you're covering, so I'll hand the microphone back to you. Thank you.
Thank you again, Bernadette. I just wanted to quickly answer the question from Paul Spain. This presentation will be available. Okay, Anita looks like she's already answered that. And a good question here also from Suzanne. So just consider, what would you advise someone who has an ATAR lower than the published clearly in? So certainly you should consider that in terms of what we've discussed and in what Suzanne has just inquired about. I'm just going to cover on the application methods. We talked about the methods of application through, we talked about the methods of application through VTAC, VTAC and direct to institution. So applications are submitted through VTAC if the course entry states apply through VTAC. And you'll notice in the difference on the screens, if the course is listed as direct to institution, there are no course codes. This is basically so nobody can actually accidentally apply for a course that is direct to the institution through VTAC. So if it says direct to institution, the institution manages the whole application and offer process and is entirely independent of VTAC. If it's applied through VTAC, you will go through the VTAC application process. Just to answer Anita's question, the slides will be available on the VTAC website by the end of this week under the Careers Practitioners section. So the link that, excuse me, just need to go to the Careers Practitioners website from Friday onwards, and that presentation will be there. And again, another question from observation from Suzanne, what would you advise someone with an ATAR lower than last year's clearly in to apply for the DREAM course? And for one of the careers practitioners, could you maybe put what you think that answer would be in the chat room, and we can go from there. This is just, next slide is an overview of applying through VTAC. So we open on the 5th of August at 9 o'clock. Everyone needs to register for a VTAC user account, Year 12 students and non-Year 12 applicants. So once someone has completed registration, they will receive a VTAC ID and PIN. For VCE students, that VTAC ID and PIN will be the same as their VCAA student number. So after they've logged into the user account, it's been set up, they can then apply for courses. They need to apply for at least one course in order to activate the CEAS application. This only becomes available once the course application has been submitted. They can also apply for scholarships. Anyone can apply for scholarships. Registration was brought in a number of years ago because scholarships are available to non-VTAC course applicants. So you can list up to 12 preferences in one application. If you apply after 9 AM on the 5th of August, you can change your preferences. Students can change their preferences as often as they like until the end of October. Please do not second guess the system. Students should always list the courses in the order they most want to get into them, not in the order that they think will get into the course. There is only one processing fee. That processing fee is payable based on the time of application. Any student who applies before the 27th of September will have a timely fee of $27. After that, it increases to $91, and in between November and December, it's $116. Preferences, as I said, can change as often as the student likes up until the end of October, and then again at the end of November until late December. Overview courses with direct application. This is simple. You can apply for as many courses directly with institutions who are offering direct applications. They manage the application and offer process totally independent of VTAC. So any offer you receive from an institution that is running direct applications is up to the student on how they manage that process. It is completely separate to the VTAC application process, and they can make offers whenever they choose. I have touched on the VTAC processing fees. Another great initiative, this year is that applicants do not now need a PayPal account. All payments are online through the user account. Applicants can pay as a guest, a PayPal guest. So while we do advise that students should pay at the time of application, it's not mandatory. They have until the closing date to pay that processing fee. So it's if they apply by the 27th of September, they'll need to pay that $27 by the 23rd of December. If they don't pay, they won't be processed or be eligible to receive an offer in January. I'm now going to hand back over to Bernadette to see if there are any more questions at this time before we start talking about the cease process.
Thanks, Adrian. We'll take some questions from the room. If you'd like to take the microphone, can you please put up your hand and we'll take them in numbered order. Thank you. Adrian, I think we are ready to move on. Just a reminder to everyone in the room that if you have a question at any time during the presentation, just type it into the chat room and we can answer it as we go. So thanks very much, and I'll hand the microphone over to Tassie now. I think she's taking the next section on special entry access schemes. Very important process or part of the VTAC application process. Thanks, Tassie.
That's okay. I'll be covering off on the cease part of the process as well. So special entry access scheme. Now, some of the teachers in the room tonight may be familiar with our earlier webinars in regards to cease. We have, and you will be able to see these presentations on the VTAC website in the careers. We've been encouraging early preparation for cease. The key message is for students who have suffered long-term disadvantage, and if there's anyone here tonight, particularly in a regional area where it may be more difficult to make appointments or there's more travel involved, don't wait until applications open. Start collecting supporting statements now. Start making appointments with medical practitioners. Ask them to clearly outline the condition and include the timeline of the impact of the condition or of the circumstances. The key is the evidence. And we're also encouraging everyone to answer yes to Category 1, and I'll explain why shortly. Cease categories. Now for the teachers who are here who are familiar with the VTAC process and cease last year, the categories are the same as last year. I will go through them in sequence. Category 1, personal information and location. Every applicant through VTAC should be applying for this category. It is a matter of ticking a box. That's all it is. What happens is we pick up information that is personal to the applicant at registration and at the time of application. So that's things such as their age, their address, their date of birth, and their gender. So what happens is we need the applicant to tick a box in order to have permission to forward this information to institutions. So if anyone, so if age is generally for mature age applicants, which can be 18 years old for VET courses, 21 years old for higher education. Recognition as Indigenous Australian, living or school postcode. Now this is an important one. Anyone who's living is classified as rural or isolated under the Australian Geographical Standards classification. If they tick yes to category 1, they will be considered under that arrangement. That is based on a living arrangement and where they attend school. Underrepresented schools is a program whereby institutions monitor the amount of applicants, amount of students coming to their courses from particular schools. Schools should be aware, would have been advised by institutions that they're underrepresented. So if you're you attend an underrepresented school, you will be considered if you tick the box. La Trobe University, Victoria University, and University of Ballarat do run underrepresented schools programs under Category 6. In there, the other institutions who participate in this category, in underrepresented schools, is considered for Category 1. One I like to talk about each year is gender. Often doesn't get talked about, but some institutions will actually consider students based on gender for courses where they're underrepresented. For example, female students who are applying for engineering courses, or male students who are applying for nursing or education courses. So again, that's something that students should actually consider as well. Category 2, non-English speaking background. A number of the evidence requirements have been eased back over the years with this. There are some exceptions, but it generally applies to people who have arrived in Australia on or after the 1st January 2004. Full information on that is in the VTAC section of the VTAC guide. Where evidence comes, two of the most important categories where evidence comes into play are difficult circumstances and disability or medical condition. This is about the impact, about demonstrating the impact of the circumstances. It's not that these circumstances occurred, it's the impact of those on particular students. There's a lot of examples of what could be classified as difficult circumstances. We have often reflected on the bushfires in 2009 and people whose arrangements have been, whose lives have been turned upside down by those circumstances. Not the circumstances that happen, it's the impact of those circumstances on the applicant. Disadvantaged financial background. Again, we encourage students who have a Centrelink reference number to provide that, because then they can give us permission to download information from Centrelink. It's the student's Centrelink reference number. But again, if a student doesn't have a Centrelink reference number, that does not exclude them from applying for this category. They are able to apply for this category provided they provide an appropriate impact statement. Again, the impact of their circumstances need to be considered for this category as well. Thank you, Bernadette, for your clarification with the non-English speaking background. So they're the 6 categories of C. Students can apply, applicants can apply for more than one category, but just be careful in terms of the circumstances you're applying for under those particular categories. So again, we emphasise impact, and when we're out on the road over the next few weeks, that's what we will be discussing with students and parents and teachers. So we're emphasising on CEAT, early preparation, organisation, and demonstrate impact. Just quickly hearing, just seeing Tassie's, am I coming across clear to the participants? Just some smiley faces would be good. Applying for CEAT, that's good, thank you. Applying for CEAT, this year all of the categories are on one page and it will look something like this. This is a sample page. Applicants can fully edit their CEAT application up until the deadline on Tuesday, the 8th of October. Also, I would like to talk about another resource that's available for applicants. Every year we put up demonstration applications, so people can familiarise themselves with the screens for each application. So we'll have a demonstration course application for current Year 12 students and non-Year 12 applicants. There'll also be demonstration applications for seats and scholarships. It's a good way for counsellors and for students to actually, and for parents as well, to familiarise themselves with the screens that they will see when they're going through the VTAC application process. It doesn't save any data, it will just come up as a demo at the end of it when you get to the end of that demonstration. Applying for scholarships. Now, we know that no one is guaranteed a scholarship. What we can guarantee is if no one applies for a scholarship, they won't be considered. Every single year, institutions cannot give away all of their scholarship. There are literally thousands of dollars that is not allocated to scholarships that just goes to waste. We always tell the story of a student that we knew a number of years ago who completed a 4-year degree. Can anyone here please tell me how much money she had to pay back to HECS at the end of that degree? The answer is nothing, because every year she was the only one who applied for the scholarship, and every year she was the only one who got it. Thank you, Suzanne. That's right. It's absolutely nothing. So encourage all students to apply for scholarships either through the VTAC program or direct to institutions. So there are many scholarships out there, even through businesses and in places like that. In regional areas, there are businesses who do offer scholarships. Some TAFE providers, some independent tertiary colleges. There are lots of scholarships out there. And again, they're not just for smart kids. There's a misconception out there that you need an ATAR of 95 or 98. There are scholarships out there for merit scholarships. There are also scholarships for students who might have the highest ATAR. The highest ATAR might be 75. So unless they apply, they won't. If they don't apply, they won't be considered. If they do apply, they'll be considered. Scholarships are also based on take-up of courses. So there are students who actually may, upon starting their courses in March next year, receive a scholarship because someone else didn't take the place who was offered a scholarship. Before I move on to the ATAR, I'm going to have a break and get Bernadette to ask any questions from the group.
Thanks, Adrian. We've got a little bit of a technical issue with Tassie. She's dropped out, and I've noticed that there are a couple of people in the room with very bad red bars against their microphone. So I do apologise if you're missing some of this, but please be assured that we are recording it, and we will try to put the recording up as soon as possible. We do have a question in the room at the moment from Karen. Does it discriminate between citizens or PR for scholarships? So that's an interesting one, and Adrian may be able to answer that for us. So I'll hand that back to you, Adrian. This question in relation to the status of an individual applying for scholarships. Thanks, Adrian.
Thank you, Karen and Bernadette. Suzanne has provided an answer in the chat room in regards to this question, that most institutions do accept both. However, in the scholarships chapter of the VTAC guide, the citizenship requirements are outlined by the institutions. But as Suzanne has said, most institutions accept both citizens and permanent residents for scholarships.
We might make also a bit of give a bit of information to the parents this evening that the CEAS application can really support a student to gain access into a course. If you're not hearing about it from your school, you may want to ask or request information from the careers practitioner in the school that your child attends. Perhaps you can send them an email or contact the school in whatever method that they use and ask them about the CEAS application process. The gathering evidence is absolutely crucial, so it may be important that, particularly for Category 3, if you've got difficult family circumstances and you know that there is a particular individual in your school that does know a great deal about the circumstances, then that's the ally that you would need to contact to ensure that you can get the correct evidence to supply for the impact statement. So we encourage as many parents as possible to become familiar with the CEASE process and to use it and to ensure that that their child is given a fair chance. So thanks for that, and I'll hand it back to you, Adrian, and we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernadette, and I also wanted to emphasise the point that Suzanne's just made in the chat room as well, and I was just about to discuss that as well. It isn't a get out of jail free card. If it's basically to give students who've had a disadvantage and the impact of that disadvantage consideration for those circumstances. The questions, I've got two questions from James and Prathanti. Suzanne again has provided an answer in the chat room. The scholarships will be listed on the VTAC website in the week beginning the 29th of July. So thank you for your questions, and thank you, Suzanne, for your chat room response there. Very, very helpful. I'm just covering the Australian, going on to the Australian Tertiary Admission Rank, or the ATAR. The ATAR is recognised nationally, so an ATAR in Victoria is considered as an ATAR in South Australia, New South Wales, except for good old Queensland, which has the overall position. So if you have any of your sons or daughters or students here apply for courses in Queensland, they need to look at the conversion table that's on the VTAC website. So it's not a score out of 100, it's a rank between 0 and 99.95. It's simply calculated by VTAC solely for use by institutions. That's all it's used for. And as we talked about earlier, about 50% of courses through VTAC do select by ATAR as the sole selection criterion, but there are a lot of other courses that have a range of criteria. An ATAR of 75 means a student with that ATAR has achieved VCE results that places in the top 25% of the Year 12 age group. If you want to have a look and get familiar with that, we have an ATAR to aggregate table and a scaling report on the VTAC website. Under reports and statistics, by just going to the bottom of the home page, you'll be able to see information from the last selection period. To qualify for an ATAR, student must qualify for the VCE. So they need to achieve study scores in at least 4 permissible Unit 3 and 4 VCE studies, including 1 from the English group. So there's English, English language, English as an additional language, and literature. And just also wanted to follow on Suzanne's point about submitting a scholarship application, let the system sort out which ones your sons or daughters are eligible for. Again, that's don't second guess the system that applies to scholarship and to course preferences. ATARs will be released to students at 7 AM on Monday the 16th of December. All students are eligible to receive an ATAR, irrespective of whether or not they've applied through VTAC for courses. So the difference between someone who's not applied through VTAC or not paid their processing fee within about a week of the ATAR release is they won't receive an ATAR statement. However, anyone who qualifies for an ATAR can access their ATAR online or via SMS. There are SMS instructions on that link below there. There are also instructions that are in the ABC of Applying publication and in the VTAC guide, and there is plenty of information available. At that time, VTAC also runs what we call a post-results and ATAR service with the VCAA. This year, we will be piloting a blog around that time as well, in addition to the traditional phone and email inquiries for that service. Change of preference. Change of preference, as I said earlier, change of preference is open from the first week of August till late October, then closes for a month, reopens in late November, and is open through December. We do close it on the morning of the ATAR release to give students a bit of breathing space in terms of when they get their ATAR released. it may be a lot different to what they were expecting and may influence their thoughts on their preferences. It's just time to take a deep breath. It's just time to take a deep breath about that time, and then there's another week in order to change your preferences up until 12 noon on the Monday. Also maybe give you time to go and see your careers counsellors during that week. There are also change of preference days which we publish in the December bulletin and which you will receive in the email inbox if you have subscribed through VTAC. Before I go into the golden rules of the change of preference, I'm going to hand back to Bernadette for a second and go and see if there are any questions about the ATAR.
Thanks, Adrian. I think you've given a really thorough review of the ATAR, but there might be some participants in the room this evening that have a question that they might like to raise now in terms of the ATAR, its calculation, and perhaps where they can get some further advice. So I'll just leave it open to the room for the moment. And welcome to the new people that are just joining us at the moment, that have come in after 8 o'clock this evening. Thank you for joining this parent briefing on the VTAC application system. I'm sure that everyone in the room this evening has a child that is going to complete Year 12 this year, or perhaps has joined us because they're part of a school system and would like some information around the VTAC process. So this evening we have Adrian Blades, the school's coordinator, who's taking us through the VTAC process. We've heard a little bit about what VTAC actually does and how it puts together the application process. We've heard a bit about resources, accessing course information. We've had a very good tour through the online process and some explanation around what each of the entries actually mean. We've been through quite an extensive session on applying for special entry and access through that scheme, and now we've got a few other slides to go through. We've just completed slides on the ATAR. So for the new people that have just joined us in the last 5 minutes or so, we are going to move forward in terms of change of preference. If you have any questions that you might have at the top of your head and you haven't heard an answer to it yet, please type it into the chat room, and we have a couple of moderators with us this evening that can answer those questions for you. Hopefully we will also be able to release this recording within 24 hours. It will be available through the CEAV website, and the slideshow will be available for parents to access through VTAC. So thanks, Adrian. If we've got any questions, could you put your hands up and we'll take them in numbered order.
Thank you again, Bernadette. So I'll be covering now the golden rules of the change of preferences, the offer process, and the key dates and times. Also, I want to just discuss another facility available to students and to teachers as well, called CourseLink. Down the bottom here, you'll see prerequisites. Make sure that the students meet them. By using CourseLink, there's a process called Student CourseLink available through the VTAC website. Students can go in there through their VCAA number and use a 4-digit PIN and actually put their study program in, and the program will come up with courses they meet the prerequisites for. That program is actually available now. It's a really good counselling tool at this time of the year as well. Really good for students to understand which courses that they meet the criteria for. Just with Farah's question, the recordings will be accessed through the CAV website within about 24 hours or so. Bernadette, thank you, Anita. You've just answered that question. Prerequisites and extra requirements, as I discussed earlier, are compulsory. So when you get into December and you're getting excited by the ATAR you've received, or the students are excited by the ATAR they've received, they need to take a deep breath, make sure they've met their prerequisites and the extra requirements. One of the other things about why we encourage students to get in early, particularly, is not only because the fee is reduced, is a lower fee during the timely period. It gives them a chance to meet extra requirements. There are particular courses where students need to meet extra requirements by the end of September or October. So the earlier they get in, the better chance they've got of actually meeting those requirements. Last year's selection data, again, don't panic if your ATAR is slightly lower, still put the course down. Selection data can fluctuate annually. So if you're within, if you're looking at last year's selection data, just have a close look and take a deep breath if your ATAR is slightly lower, and make sure you meet the prerequisites, and you can consider, certainly leave that on your preference list, particularly if it's your dream course. Offers, as we touched on earlier, if students don't pay their processing fee, they won't be considered for offers in January, again up until the 23rd of December. The other important point is that all offers are provisional and subject to accurate information being supplied by the applicant. An offer is not accepted until the student has enrolled in the particular course. So there are rounds of offers through VTAC, early round offers, in November. They're for non-Year 12 applicants only. So the offers available to current Year 12 students are the international offer round for international Year 12 students and the main round of offers on the 17th of January. Offers to all applicants, more than 60,000 offers are made in that round. Smaller number of offers, usually 6,000 to 8,000. It's filling places. So students need to be very careful in regards to if they intend on not accepting an offer. There are a lot less offers in round 2. They also need to be careful in terms of the negotiated offer. A negotiated offer is no guarantee of a place. I'll be covering that process a little bit more shortly. And there are also supplementary offers, which we think is a great, also a great last chance resort for all applicants through VTAC. So in Prasanti question, if applying for interstate unis, is there any place on the web that we can get the interstate applications closing dates? We do supply contact details for the websites for interstate admission centres. They will have their opening and closing dates on their websites. As I said earlier, all students should always accept an offer they receive. There's certainly no guarantee they'll get a better offer in round 2. If a student doesn't accept any of the offers that they've been made, they're not eligible for a supplementary offer. What a supplementary offer is a chance for institutions to fill places in their courses after the end of round 2 if their places aren't filled. And it's a chance for all applicants who have not received any offer in any round to be considered for a course they may not have applied for. They can also get offers, more than one offer. There are a number of times where we've known of people to get more than one offer in the supplementary process. So it's a really good opportunity. Again, the student needs to give permission in order to be considered for a supplementary offer process, so we can forward that information on. So if an offer has been made to an applicant at any time before that, they're not eligible for a supplementary offer. I can make themselves available for a supplementary offer at the time of application or through the VTAC user account up until the first week of February. Negotiated offers are no guarantee for an offer unless the institution accepts you. So after the main round of offers are released in January, a link will be available on a VTAC user account. Again, emphasise the importance of prerequisites and extra requirements. The student needs to ensure that they've met them before approaching an institution about finding out whether they will accept them. Once the institution says yes, the student can apply through the VTAC user account. There are 3 statuses: pending, rejected and approved. And if it's approved, the institution will notify VTAC and an offer will be made to the applicant in round 2. We have found over the last couple of years this has been a very effective process, and institutions generally respond promptly to these inquiries. Again, only one negotiated offer can be made. Okay, I jumped ahead here. I've just explained what this actually means. If the status is pending, the student it means the institution hasn't responded to the request. Student can actually then remove that request if they wish. If it's rejected again, the student can submit another request, and if it's approved, an offer will be released in the next round. Student is not eligible for any further offers. So we've got a question here from Suzanne. If you accept an offer, are you eligible for offers in future rounds before supplementary offers begin? The answer is yes. You can accept an offer in another round if you've enrolled in the course and you are now then made an offer for a course that is higher on your preference list. If you do so, you can make sure you accept the first offer. You can then accept the second offer and withdraw from the offer that's been made in round one. Again, remember that if you've accepted a direct application, that is completely separate to any offer you would receive through the VTAC process. Supplementary offers, again, I've sort of jumped ahead of this slide as well. That some institutions may make supplementary offers after round two if they have places available. Applicants may receive supplementary offers only if they haven't received an offer in a previous offer round. So for non-Year 12, that's early round 1 and round 2, and they've been given VTAC permission to forward their information and not been granted a negotiated offer. Again, if an offer is rejected, that means it's an offer received, so the student and the applicant is not eligible for a supplementary offer. They're processed weekly during February, and it is certainly possible an applicant can receive 2 or more offers at the same time, and it's purely up to them which offer they will need. They can decide to accept at that particular time. And as I said earlier, again, it can be for more than one course, and it can be for a course that that student hasn't applied for. A lot of the restrictions in the offer process are removed for supplementary offers. Okay, I won't cover this in depth. This is just the key dates, and this year key dates and fees. As you can see, the timely, late, and very late closing dates and the fees associated with them. The dates and fees are available on the VTAC website in the link on our homepage, and they've been up for a number of months now, so that information is all available there. But in answer to Bernadette's question, we do advise that students certainly don't reject an offer, but due to the fact that there are a lot less offers in round 2, and there's certainly no guarantee of a negotiated offer at that time. So if they have an offer in round 1 that they're having second thoughts about, we certainly advise them to accept that offer, and if they're able to get a negotiated offer organised or an offer in round 2, they can withdraw from the course that they're enrolled in and actually accept the offer for the new place. Again, stay up to date. Talked about this quite a bit already. Updates and amendments are processed weekly on the VTAC website, and if anyone subscribes to the blog, careers practitioners do have a blog they can subscribe to as well, then that information will be available in your email inbox, and you're keeping up to date with everything that's happening through VTAC. Any article posted on the blog is cross-posted through Facebook and Twitter as well. Again, as Suzanne has emphasised, negotiated offers are there for applicants who want to apply for a course that's lower than an offer received or not on the preference list at all. Again, very important to check prerequisites, extra requirements. Bernadette's question, what if this student has paid money on enrolment? What happens if they change in round 2? Institutions generally have a process where they'll refund any of the administrative any of the fees that are paid, amenities fees that are paid to them, probably with a small administrative fee, but you would need to follow that through with institutions. So again, very important, very useful to stay up to date through VTAC. Anything we post on the blog is cross-posted through social media on Facebook and Twitter. And if schools do have permission to use Facebook, students can certainly follow the VTAC Facebook page there. Okay, I believe we've come to the end of the VTAC part of the presentation. I'll hand over to Bernadette to see if there are any final questions.
Thanks, Adrian. That's taken us right through. We've had a really good overview of the VTAC system. Now, here's your chance, everyone. If you've got some burning questions, and don't be shy, just put your hand up and I'll hand the microphone over to you so that you can ask your question directly to the VTAC team. They would love to answer your questions. Perhaps it's apart from earlier on in the presentation around applications, or you might have a question around CEASE, around the ATAR release, the change of preference, the scholarships, and perhaps the offers. If you've got a question over any of those processes, please put up your hand. And we've got one here from Farah. Thanks, Farah. When do we have to submit the preferences by? So I'll hand that over to you, Adrian. Perhaps you can just go over the opening date and the closing date for preferences and then change of preference. Thanks, Adrian.
Thank you, Farah, for your question. The VTAC course application process will open at 9 AM on the 5th of August, so you can actually submit preferences after that time. Your fee and whether you meet the requirements for particular courses is dependent on when you actually apply. So if you apply by the 27th of September, your Year 12 fee will be $27 for a processing fee. You can change your preferences at any time up until late October, where we close it for a month due to the early round offer process for non-Year 12s, and then we'll reopen for 4 weeks. So in answer to your question, Farah, from 9 AM on the 5th of August, you can submit course preferences and change them as often as you like after that time. You don't need to pay your fee in order to change your preferences. Just make sure you pay your fee by the 23rd of December. Kim Dillon has raised a question. If you accept the first round offer, so the chat room's moving around a little bit. If you accept a first round offer, how do VTAC know that you might be open to supplementary offers? Well, the two parts of that question is that we know that any applicant is available to supplementary offers because they give us permission through the user account. However, if an offer has been made in any round, that makes the applicant ineligible for supplementary offers. Supplementary offers are only available to applicants who've not received an offer in a previous round. So that's the early round for non-Year 12s and rounds 1 and 2 for all applicants. So I hope that answers your question there, Kim.
Thanks, Barbara. I can see that you've got your hand up if you'd like to take the microphone now and ask your question. Don't forget to click on and click off. I'd like to know what's the closing date for personal history online. Thank you, Barbara. So that question to you, Adrian, is when is the closing date for applicants to lodge their personal history online? I suspect that's to do with the cease application. Is that correct?
Answer your question first, Bernadette. The personal statement, as it's now called, is where institutions are looking for any additional information that will help with consideration for the course, so things such as work experience and things like that. Generally, the personal statement is mostly required for non-Year 12 applicants, and it has, as Suzanne has said, it has no relationship to cease at all. It's an additional requirement, and if a personal statement is required, it will be listed in the extra requirements of the course entry. And again, for the most part, it's institutions generally look for personal statements from non-Year 12 applicants. The closing date for the personal statement is in the key dates on the VTAC website and will be in the front of the VTAC guide. However, it's the 6th of December for the main round of offers, which is the final closing date for applications, and the 3rd of January 2014 for any courses that have been added after that time on the 6th of December, any courses added during the change of preference process.
Thanks, Adrian. And if you have a question and you'd like to ask your question, just put up your hand and we'll hand you the microphone. Thanks, Suzanne. If you'd like to take the microphone, that would be great. Thank you.
Can you hear me, Bernadette? Hello, can you hear me? If you can hear me, could you please smiley face? Thank you. Sorry, it's Suzanne here from VTAC. I just wanted to add a couple of things, if that's okay, to the discussion. One is I just want to remind everybody that the ATAR is not the be-all and end-all of existence. It's really a mean to an end, and the end is to get into the course that you want to get into. And if you don't have an ATAR that's as good as you had anticipated, don't panic, because there are thousands of other options available to you. And so really, if you've got sons or daughters, get them to talk to their careers teacher, because they'll be able to help them. I just wanted to add that, because often everything gets really bogged down in how good, whatever that means, an ATAR is, and how good an ATAR is very subjective. So please just sort of take pressure off yourselves as parents and off your sons and daughters, because there are lots and lots of ways of achieving an outcome rather than going from A to B. Sometimes the more scenic route, as I always say, is a lot more interesting. So yeah, just sort of chill a bit about the ATAR.
Thanks, Suzanne, and I think it's a wonderful advice that you're giving participants here this evening. The ATAR is only one element in the whole career development of a young person, and it's really important that parents know that, again, as VTAC has said, it's not the measure of that individual. It is just one component in a process along the way. So when we consider all our young person's skills and talents and their knowledge base, they've managed to get to year 12, they're pretty good to do that. So I think that's a real pat on the back to the parents and the carers that have supported them to get there. And of course, the career advisors in the schools are there to assist and help you with the knowledge that you need to help your young person to support them and to walk the journey with them. So thank you for that advice. Any more questions or comments that people might like to make on this evening's presentation? Okay, so what we might do now is just move to the final slides, please, Anita. If we can just pull up the last ones for us there. Thank you. Part of our process this evening is to ask our parents for their feedback. For those of you that have joined us this evening, our parents, our career advisors, our carers, interested parties that have come along tonight to hear this presentation, we'd really like your feedback. This is the first time we've offered a webinar in the evening for parents, and if it's been valuable, we'd like to hear about it. If you want some more improvements, we'd like to hear about it. And of course, if you want more topics, CEAB would love to come up with a series for you and perhaps offer them in the evening on different nights of the week so that people can access them. So please take some time now to fill in the VTAC, to fill in the response form and give us your feedback. And I can see Suzanne's got her hand up, so I'll pass the microphone over to her. All you need to do to answer the evaluation is to click on the link in the chat room, and that'll take you straight through to the survey, or you can copy it and paste it into your browser. Thanks, Suzanne.
Thanks, Bernadette. Just before everyone goes, could we have a show of hands as to how many people in the seminar are parents? Okay, how many of you are students? Teachers? Barbara, I know you're a teacher. Okay, thanks very much everyone. Have a great night, and I hope you enjoyed the seminar. Bye.
Bernadette, you don't have your microphone on.
Thanks, Anita. I keep forgetting to click the button, even though I tell everybody else to. For those parents that might be interested in some additional careers counselling, if you can't access counselling services through other means, the CEAB does provide an all-ages careers counselling service. So if you'd like to come in and perhaps with adult children, or for yourself, or for someone that you might know that can't access careers advice, we do have a counselling centre, and we have it at very affordable counselling rates for all CEAB member schools. healthcare card recipients, unemployed or new entrants to the labour market. We also have SEQA qualified professional career counsellors here that can assist you through change of preference and through the application process. So that's a service that we do offer all our member schools and to the general public. Now you can make an appointment for careers counselling to suit your needs for whatever length of time that you might need, simply by contacting the CEAB on 9810 6400, or you can cut and paste those contact details there, counselling@ceab.vic.edu.au, and you can also access it through the main website. So that service is available to you right throughout the year, but particularly during course selection time and of course change of preference time. So thank you for listening. I hope that we've been of some value to you this evening, that you've received the information that you've needed. You've had an opportunity to provide us with some feedback, and just be advised that your first port of call is always going to be your career advisor at your school or at your Learn Local facility. If you have access to a career advisor locally, please use them first. And if you're not able to access careers counselling, be advised that we have got services available for you, so you can certainly contact us at any time. Thank you everyone for listening. Anita, we might just put the timer on for 5 minutes please, and we'll allow people a chance to ask any questions of the VTAC crew that is still in the room if they think of anything for the next 5 minutes, and then I think we'll close the room. And we've done very well tonight, nearly finished at 8:45, which is the time that we expected. Thanks, Anita. And just before we sign off this evening, I would really like to offer my thanks to Adrian Blades and Tassie Masakis, and of course Suzanne Connolly that joined us this evening as a guest. If we could all just give a round of applause to our speakers this evening. You'll have a little emoticon there. If we can just give them a nice round of applause, because it was a terrific presentation, nice and clear. And we do appreciate you giving up your time in the evening to provide us with this service free of charge, which is always good. So thank you very much, Adrian and Tassie. And Adrian, if you'd like to take the microphone, if there's any comments you'd like to make before you leave.
I'd just like to echo what you just said, Bernadette. Thank my colleagues Suzanne and Tassie for their work and getting these presentations together as well, and also thank the people who participated tonight. We've certainly enjoyed doing it, and we certainly hope that the participants got plenty of really good information and valuable information to take with them over the next few months through the VTAC process. So again, thank everyone for their time, and we'll be looking forward to seeing some people on the road over the next few weeks. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Adrian. We've got a 3-minute countdown. If you've got any questions, late questions that you might like to ask of us, of the CEAB, please put your hand up and we're happy to hand you the mic. Thanks, Barbara. We'll give you the microphone if you'd like to ask a question.
It's a comment, really. I was just a bit concerned about the timing of when the information came out. I didn't think it gave us a lot of time to actually get information to parents. So I think that was probably the reason why your numbers are a little bit low. I'm just a bit concerned about that.
Thanks for that, Barbara. We actually advertised this session on the CEAB calendar in January that went out to all members, and we did remind everyone early in term 2 that it was going ahead, as well as some information that went out periodically over the last few weeks through the member services and through the ECHO. We are restricted a little bit with the links when they arrive, so we were a little bit late in getting that link. But we did contact all schools twice over the holidays, which is a difficult time just before the holidays, and then of course again on Monday. We did have 120 registrations this evening, and all 120 registrations were contacted individually with the link and with information on the service. So I think whilst we had a really good buy-in for the first one, often things happen at night and people are unable to connect for whatever reason, or other things come to play. So we'll take your comments on board, Barbara, and we'll certainly, given that it's the first one, we'll have another go at it and make sure that we learn from this first one. So thanks for your comments, Barb. Okay, we've got a question here, Adrian. Perhaps you can take that, please. It's asking from Jan Schultz, with students at New South Wales schools, how can we be sure what prerequisite subjects are acceptable for the VTAC system?
Talia's just also helped answer that question in the chat room, that we have an equivalence table on our website in the reports and statistics section. Reports and statistics section. There is also an option for students who to use what we call the Interstate Student Course Access Program, where they can put their study program in as well and compare it to Victorian prerequisites. So there is information on our website, and also the Interstate Student Access Course Link Program. I believe Farah has a question about webinars. I'll leave that to you, Bernadette.
Thanks, Adrian. Farah, we have access to the Blackboard system, and we can provide webinars on a variety of topics and evenings. What we need is just some information, perhaps from parents, what they would like the webinars to be on, and perhaps if you'd want particular speakers. We do have access to quite a bank of professionals that can come onto a webinar system like this and provide information to parents. So if you've got a topic that you'd like, a particular topic you'd like covered, then we can certainly do that for you. We just need some feedback from you. And I think that's one of the questions on the evaluation this evening, around topics that you might like covered. It could be things to do in relation to future careers growth, and perhaps labour market information. We've got a lot of information around where the next range of industry growth is going to be, and the type of occupations that are going to become highly prized, and there will be high skill shortage areas. So certainly if you can give us a bit of an indication of what you might like, we can look at putting on some extra webinars for parents in particular, and perhaps even students in the evenings as well. We can see here that Susan is suggesting that there may be the possibility of something for parents at the change of preference period as well, if there's demand. Okay, we've extended our time in terms of closing down the room, so if there are no other questions, I think, Anita, we might close the room down. Thank you everyone, to all our participants, for being here this evening. Thank you for joining us. We hope you found the session valuable. Hopefully we will have this recording out to you within 24 hours as soon as it's made available to us from the DEECD. And it will go up on the CEAB website, and you'll be able to access it via VTAC as well. So thank you for coming to our presentation this evening, and good evening.